Hello.
You join us out at the wind farm by the Porta-Johns.
We got some cables from here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hawser.
I think we've driven past this road thing before.
Cool. We're removing this from the construction site, it looks like, and taking it somewhere entirely different.
To Winnemucca.
Winnemucca.
How are the truckos today?
I don't know, man. We can't hear them.
I wish they could answer like the audience of Blue's Clues.
Okay. Awkward, but making our deal.
How are the truckers?
This trucker is tired. How's your trucker?
I'm also tired.
I think that it's a problem. Oh, it's a one-lane highway. Those people have to wait for us.
In my case, it's a good thing that I'm tired because my sleep schedule has been nocturnal, and I'm going to have a nice early sleep tonight.
I have a very nice for you. I'm also going to sleep tonight.
Are you gonna?
But at night. And not much. Yeah, we have no topic for today's trucks, but because we didn't do a trucks last week...
It felt important. It felt important to check in.
Don't want to let it lapse this close to the finish line, basically. I've been considering getting a dash cam and sending updates from my trip away from here across the country.
Sounds awesome.
In audio-visual format.
How are you going to record the audio?
I'm going to talk to my brother about that, but I'm thinking like a headset mic attached to sort of a Zoom mechanism, probably going onto an SD card.
Nice. That sounds like a good project.
Yeah, I think that I
If
feel...
only you could get Skype on there, we could do the fabled live-action trucks.
I mean, my thing on this car stereo is a Bluetooth phone. As long as I was somewhere where there was actually reception. It's a possibility. Certainly one worth attempting.
Yeah.
Split screen the fake truck and the real car.
Try to drive down the same territory, you'd have to go all the way to the West Coast.
Well, luckily,
That's true.
that is happening. Yeah, other than that, man, it's, it's crazy. A lot of stuff to take care of. And then trying to care about my job during this small duration that I still have it.
Yeah.
Successfully caring about it. You don't want to let people down, even when it's shitty.
It's true.
You know, you want to think of yourself as a good person.
Yeah.
Ideally. I mean, not that much, mind you. But
You don't want a job on your resume where you can't provide references because you left in disgrace.
that's true. You don't want to leave in disgrace. You want to leave in semi-disgrace at best. You want to leave in medium dudgeon, ideally. But yeah, no, I am a guy.
Me too.
I'm still alive.
Doing a podcast.
Dropout's almost over.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I read the beginning and the most recent page of it, and I felt like that's, there's a bunch of stuff
we just
in the
missed a
middle.
bunch of conversations, basically, in the middle of that, so, good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Josh. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to hit the Grand Canyon on this road trip. Maybe do a little bit of fan art while I'm out there. That's
What kind of fan art?
I'm throwing myself in, of course.
Oh no.
It's an AU where there's only one of me, and so there's nobody to teach me an important moral lesson right at the edge of the precipice.
Shall we have a discussion about whether that one character is a murderer?
No, let's not further antagonize anybody. This is an ongoing debate that I've been having in the Trucks Discord with a youngster who is taking exception to the fact that I think that the one character giving the other character who's suicidal a golden opportunity to commit suicide constitutes an immoral and, in fact, a murderous act.
It's pretty... Boy, what a tough issue.
Yeah.
No, it seems like a good comic. Highly recommended.
It's a really good comic. That's drop-out.ws, I believe. It's actually like astoundingly good for the author's really young, and the conception of like the framing, timing, color, expression, dialogue.
There's a lot of stuff in it that I think, like, if you were to put it through a college workshop, would have got workshopped out, but that would have been worse for it.
Nice. Good conception, yeah. And, like, it's coming at it from its own, like, interesting moral perspective about, like, definitely from inside mental illness, you know? And those of us who are inside different mental illnesses or not inside mental illnesses can only, look so far into that.
Also, it's like kind of 50-50 cute and grotesque furries, which
always good.
Yeah.
That's my wheelhouse. I'm lucky that there have been one or two things that I would say are really good that happen to be happening in my wheelhouse. I'm not going to say that I got into this wheelhouse because those good things were in there.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's been on my mind. I read a really good translation of Antigone by Anne Carson today. Do you have any Sophocles opinions? Can we have Sophocles discourse in here?
I feel like I've... Okay, wait, was the translation by Anne Carson, or who's
Yes.
Anne Carson?
Anne Carson
Did
is
she write...
a Canadian classicist translator and poet.
Did she write a book called... I'm gonna Google this after we record this episode and find out that it was by someone else completely, but did she write a kind of a long poem called Autobiography in Red?
That's exactly who this is.
Oh, awesome, yeah.
Have you read that book?
I have. It was a very long time ago, though, and it went over my head at the time.
I based on this translation, I've actually already bought a copy, and it is winging its way here, so
Cool.
perhaps we could
I think
discuss that
it
one.
might be on this shelf somewhere.
Paunch. I'll have one of my very own then to immediately put in storage. I might borrow that from you and give it a read if we can find it in this pile here.
It's an if. It's a maybe.
Yeah, and then perhaps talk about it, because the poetic quality of this translation is absolutely top-notch, and so I imagine that I'll be into whatever else this person has to offer.
The people who do the good translations are the true poets, and so it follows that they are usually poets.
Yeah, no, it's they capture the soul of something, and render it in a manner that makes it immediately accessible rather than historical curiosity is no mean feat.
Did you know, Truckos? I think Isaac knew that Borges, my favorite author, had a habit of, when he met his translators, to say, "Your translation improved on my work."
Aw. What a nice man.
Yes.
What a generous thing to say.
Yeah.
Maybe, neither of us speak Spanish. Maybe his work in the original sucks.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I have a Spanish edition of the Ficciones, and I've attempted to worm through it. I've picked up a few sentences. Generally, I find that my favorite translations are the ones that seem to use very similar words to the ones he picked.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That suggests that he was doing a good job.
What else? Let's not bore them with the poetry talk. Let's bore them with some music talk instead.
Oh, yeah?
Aphex Twin has
been releasing huge swathes of...
a little bit more selectively than it did on SoundCloud a few years back, but still super good. He's frustrated the Discogs users by adding bonus tracks to a bunch of old albums. Just releasing old tracks and putting them on the albums that correspond to the periods in which he made them. But yeah, there's also now just a website where you can stream a huge selection of Aphex Twin's music, new and old, with no limits.
That sounds like a very cheap way to have a good time.
Yeah, it totally is.
Get the party started.
So IDM has been on my mind lately.
The Trucks Discord has been in the business of making mixes.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things, because we have a lot of music heads. And I think that we probably should link to a couple that Olive has made into YouTube playlists.
Yeah,
here.
Austin made one.
And Austin made one which is very
music for plants,
highfalutin,
inspired by Plantasia, which is not a highfalutin album, and yet we can manage to take the concept and make it highfalutin.
Specifically synth music.
Yeah, synth music for plants.
And the results are a bit rarefied, which is not a negative thing at all. But it's one of those mixes where there's some 15-minute tracks on there. You're just gonna have to be prepared.
If we weren't working in the medium of YouTube playlists, we might have done more in the way of, sharpening the transitions.
I think my favorite of the ones that we've done, besides Arjuna's, which is relatively unimpeachable in terms of the taste of the things involved, is one where we expanded on the idea of dance music for the apocalypse, the death disco mix. It's pretty much it all hews very closely to the format, and is an example of collaborative mix making.
We like fictional micro genres over in the Discord.
We really do. We like cutting the cheese. We like lumping and splitting, making categories for stuff and then uncategorizing them, which is a kind of masturbation. But since we do it with other people, it's not masturbation. I'm sorry, Discord. I didn't mean that.
It's fun to find unusual commonalities. Like all these songs are songs that plants might listen to.
Yeah, no, that's extreme. That's
if plants could enjoy music, which they do scientifically. There was a study in the 70s or something.
Yeah, probably bullshit. But yeah, no. So it's that. It's like at this point, having created this Discord, there's creative output happening that is, essentially ours. Like, if you go back to the root of it, that we don't have to do anything at all about.
We can take credit for it all. Oh yeah, by the way,
it's perfecto.
We're here in the future saying that we hold a retroactive and immutable right to redistribute, etc., all content generated.
Everything in our Discord is eventually going to be published.
Sold for millions.
In print, ideally.
In print. Yes, a book with YouTube playlists.
Exactly.
Pages and pages of dead links.
Old Possum's book of YouTube playlists.
Do you think YouTube will die in the next 5 years or so?
SoundCloud seems to be doing that. But YouTube is owned by a company that if they die, will have far-reaching repercussions. But I suppose the
might just shut down.
Google could shutter YouTube if they decide that they don't feel like being a charity and keeping this cultural institution open.
There's no
despite
way
the
it's
fact
making
that
any
it's
money.
Extremely difficult to monetize.
I'm like waiting for it. It's starting to feel like there's going to be a time when all the big unprofitable websites close in close proximity to one another,
and then a bunch of ones that are much smaller and have much more modest goals and they're therefore sustainable will spring up in their wake. There will be 100 YouTubes instead of just the one.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go back to some kind of open source solution. Like, how did IRC work? That was all hosted on people's own servers, right?
Yeah. BitTorrent will never die. It's a cockroach. IRC will never die. So we'll have, distributed peer-to-peer video sharing.
I'll figure out some kind of distributed hosting solution.
Distributed hosting. I mean, we'll probably have to figure out something because net neutrality is about to die anyway, so...
Oh no.
That's going to change the way that things work.
Yeah, probably.
Verizon has already been sticking their toes in it, and apparently they just tried decelerating Netflix and YouTube for some of their users the other day just to see if they could.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And they did.
Have you seen this bullshit Comcast is pulling on Twitter, where they've got their army of Twitter monkeys tweeting out that we favor net neutrality, we're hugely in support of net neutrality in vague, unspecified ways. We just don't think that Title II is the best way to enforce it. Ha ha ha. Ha.
Rich. Yeah, that's definitely the kind of policy nuance that people are going to go to Twitter en masse in order to...
Yeah, all it is people on Twitter angrily tweeting at Comcast. This is blatantly bullshit.
I mean, it's robber baron's going to rob, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been fucking monopolies forever. They think like monopolies. They think like, they're going to... And they're going to squeeze as much money as possible. And my fervent hope is that the backlash against this may take out certain other things that they have, like the fact that there's exactly one broadband provider that we can choose from in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think that burning's too good for them, really. Hanging's too good for them.
Guillotine.
Yeah.
Emoji.
It's like people must realize that the internet is like water. It's like electricity.
They sure will.
Yeah.
After net neutrality dies.
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes we got to make these mistakes in order to...
You figure they'll probably map it out as a slow decline, right? Rather than all at once. You don't want to outrage everybody. You got to keep your customers not directly angry.
What are we going to do? We've been angry at cable companies consistently for decades, and we still pay them.
That old myth about how the internet's going to look like this, and there's this splash screen of the 12 websites you can choose to visit. It's not going to turn to that overnight, or there'll be hell to pay.
Hell to pay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to diminish the issue. It's a bad one.
Mm-hmm. And I saw in the news today that Jeff Bezos is now the world's wealthiest man.
Oh.
He was a dude who understood what the internet was going to be. I hope that he uses his powers for good. He looks kind of like William Gibson. or like a character that William Gibson would have invented. A little bit like Spider Jerusalem, but with slightly less silly sunglasses.
I like the internet. But you do get the feeling that this shit can't sustain itself. The center cannot hold.
Yeah, one gets the feeling with the end of Vine and the end of SoundCloud that like we were living, even though we didn't necessarily realize it, in one of those lovely little ages of exploration before the Wild West gets settled and nice things are no longer readily available.
Yeah. But you also feel like there must be something indomitable about the anarchy of the internet. It'll have to thrive in some way. I'm sure.
I was listening to the radio the other day.
By the way, before we move on from shutting down big internet companies, is that story you told me about Chance the Rapper and SoundCloud true?
I mean, what is true is that is that Chance tweeted, "Hang on, we're gonna sort this SoundCloud business out."
Yeah.
And then and then like a little while later he tweeted, I was on a call with SoundCloud guy. Everything's gonna be fine. No further details have emerged. So that much is true.
Someone's using their powers for good.
Well, Chance is
some of the time.
Chance is a Chicago boy.
Yeah.
He comes from a family that has been in power, and he understands that power is a thing that you can have and use, which is more, I think, than most people, particularly artists, do.
Anyway, you were about to say something.
I was about to say that I was just reminded of this. I was listening to NPR the other day, and the FBI shut down a dark web market recently. I forget what it was called. And just like hearing.
Sure, you don't remember what it was called. Sure, you weren't on there every day.
It was something Bay. It was like Zero Bay or something, or But the
Zero Bay. That's a cyber
burning chrome. Crash override.
That one's real.
But hearing these FBI guys being like, we are committed to shutting down all of these dark web, marketplaces. This is the biggest one since, Silk Road, and like just talking in these really serious tough guy terms about
people selling weed to each other.
People selling, people selling all manner of things to each other, I'm sure, over the internet, but just like in talking in a way that clearly indicated they didn't really understand. The spokespeople at least didn't really understand what had happened here, and what this was. But it's like, and the guy who founded it is like a Canadian 20-something who then hanged himself in prison. It's like,
good stuff.
Hey.
Why don't we try and distance ourselves from the serious things?
Get into the
feel good culture zone.
Well, wrestling.
Yeah, who's wrestling?
WWE's coming off what is generally agreed to be one of the worst pay-per-views they've had in a while.
Which one was that?
We didn't watch it.
I missed it.
I decided that it wasn't worth dragging out the TV for.
Yeah.
It was Battleground. The main event was Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal in a Punjabi prison match.
Yeah, how did that go?
Well, nobody could see it, for one thing.
What?
Because the Punjabi prison match is one bamboo cage inside another bamboo cage, and the thing about the interlocking of those meshes with the cameras on the outside,
what the fuck,
is that you can't really see anything that's going on.
You think that would be basic TV production shit, that you wouldn't make that mistake?
Well,
these people have been in the business for decades.
The Punjabi prison is not new.
This is part of the gimmick.
It's probably the single worst gimmick match that WWE has ever thought of. It was created for the Great Khali, who was a man who was hired solely for his look, because he's like 7 foot something and built like a plank, like an Andre the Giant kind of a character. So the WWE signed him to a big contract, just based on how he looked, and then when they got him, they realized that he couldn't really bend his knees, and so it was of limited use as a wrestler. But he came back in Battleground to help Jinder Mahal get the victory. That was but one of the things.
John
Cena and Rusev had a flag match in which the object of the game was that John Cena had an American flag and Rusev had a Bulgarian flag, and the first person to put that flag in a flag post at the top of the ramp won.
Okay.
That went on for a long time.
I know, like, we said we were going to move on from the ugly things, but now we're on, like, America versus, like, foreigners and Punjabi prisons. Like,
So
I really want to say this. Like, I like the WWE for what it is, but my God, they are, like, unambiguously in the business of propaganda from time to time.
I think that currently, like, Raw and SmackDown are doing two different social experiments.
Mm-hmm.
On Raw, all of the big main eventers are not really faces or heels. Brock, Joe, Roman, and Braun they're just forces of nature, right? Mm-hmm. And so on that side, they're like, we don't super care about who's the hero and who's the villain. We're just, trying to come up with storylines that don't really revolve around getting that kind of cheap heat. The crowd is going to cheer for these people because they're huge and exciting.
Yeah.
And on SmackDown, they're like, well, we're going to solve that problem another way by pandering to the basest possible instincts of the audience. And the one thing that, at least up until this point, could reliably turn people's cranks was the xenophobia.
Mm-hmm.
So they had 3 people doing the foreigner heel gimmick at once. And on this pay-per-view, like, Owens and Styles, Owens is Quebecois and has been, like, speaking French to make the audience angry, and Jinder versus Orton. Jinder is, Canadian but of Punjabi descent, and Cena versus Rusev, the titanic battle between America and our archenemy Bulgaria, because they stopped pretending that Rusev was Russian a while ago and they can't make him Russian again now.
Yeah. Soviet bloc.
Yeah, sort of. It's post Iron Curtain at this point, and it's not really working very well. Like, there was barely a USA chant to be had at this pay-per-view last night.
Where did they host it?
Philly. Maybe not the wisest choice on their part.
No, you gotta host
the crowd was not prepared for the bullshit there. You gotta go elsewhere, I think. But yeah, no, it's super disheartening. On the other hand, they have Shinsuke Nakamura, who's not American and is a face, but he won his match by disqualification after Baron Corbin kicked him in the balls. And he exited that match holding his balls.
Shinsuke did?
He did.
Oh, Shinsuke deserves better.
Yes, he does.
He comes in on that opening and then gets
in the plums.
Shinsuke Nakamura's opening, like, his entire opening fucking what is the word for that? It's
entrance.
But it's more than just an entrance.
His entrance routine is, they just call it his entrance.
Yeah. Whatever. If you haven't seen that, there's probably a video of it on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's worth it.
Well, he is fighting Cena next week to find out who's gonna vie for the championship at SummerSlam.
So Cena's gonna
against
throw him
Jinder Mahal.
Oh wait. Oh, Cena's gonna win. Wait a minute. Hold on. No, that can't do that. Well, whatever. Let's not get too inside baseball here.
Yeah, I know. But
hey.
Sorry, we've ended up talking about wrestling for too long.
Here's the thing.
Yeah?
I've been playing Rocket League lately, right? The number one sponsor of the WWE these days.
True.
And a disappointing fact is that this is a game with a lot of cosmetics for your cars. There's a whole NBA-themed pack of flags that you can wave. There's nothing at all for the WWE.
That's unfortunate. You'd think that the brand synergy would go both ways, wouldn't it?
Give me some cross promotion. Let me wear a Roman Reigns flag so I can never lose.
Solid. The only reason I brought up wrestling in the first place is because it's the G1 Climax right now in New Japan, and that means that there are a bunch of stellar matches happening. And I might make or ask Josh to watch one with me after the trucks are done.
Sounds good. I like a wrestle. Isaac has, if it hasn't already been clear, Isaac has succeeded at getting me into wrestling.
Yeah.
Nowadays I see like a wrestling gif or whatever and I go, hey, it's the wrestling. The good stuff.
Yeah. New Japan has actually conversely made me less into wrestling over the past weeks because it's so much better than WWE and the WWE has been really bad, and so I was watching this anyway.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But I'm sure that more Strowman Lesnar stuff and is going to happen, and that's going to make me happy.
I want to watch more of the indie stuff, but the production value does make it genuinely a bit difficult to take.
Yeah, that's true. You got it. New Japan is probably the best in terms of like not WWE production values.
Maybe we should find a way to tune into some of that.
Yeah, they have their own network for 999 yen.
All right, something other than wrestling. Go.
I wandered lonely as a cloud through Goldfire the Fur Bar.
I beat Rain World the other day. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Really good game. I don't want to belabor the point that we brought up on Trucks before about unconventional modes of difficulty in games and how that should be a critical darling, even though it's a critical... What's the opposite of a darling? Critically a menace? A bugbear?
Whipping boy.
Yeah. The game kills you unfairly sometimes. It's bad.
A critical failure.
Yes.
It is a bête noire. It is unfortunate because it's really good.
Yeah.
If unfair.
It is unfair.
But like
definitely
unfairness is a thing that happens for a reason sometimes.
Yeah. Just try to see why it's doing it, you guys. Come on for a second. I know you have to review it in 2 days. Okay, I'm done with this old rant.
I've been playing a game that has no artistic that has no redeeming qualities in that mode whatsoever, but is being a Dark Souls-y 2D platformer called Dead Cells. They're not even trying to hide the fact that they're just making a 2D Dark Souls of the many 2D Dark Souls that have been made, and it's way like more Souls-y in its execution and style than but it also does good flow and whacking, and so I've been enjoying it, and it's still in early access, and so it's been growing as I've been playing it, which is satisfying on a certain level. But it's just brainless. It's like the most brainless thing I could possibly be doing, which is just sometimes what needs to happen.
Totally.
And that's me.
That's me too.
That's you and me.
Consuming some media.
Doing the same thing. Soon I'll be doing a different thing, but in many respects it will be the same thing. I'm certain.
Different trains to the same place.
Exactly. Lordy.
I just referenced a Death Cab song. Isn't that weird?
I intentionally wrote it out to be an illegible mess. I'm not even going to keep singing that song. That's just a good line. That's a good opening line for a song.
I intentionally wrote out to be an illegible mess. Is that Death Cab?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know any Death Cab, pretty much.
You told me to write you letters, but I'd rather lose your address.
How did Owl City become a meme?
I have no idea. Like, sometimes these things go in circles.
Yeah.
But he's also, like, despite the fact that he had one hit, 10 years ago? How long ago was that? It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he had one hit in the late aughts, he has kept a robust social media presence, and I think that's probably what's responsible for.
Is part of it that we're getting enough aesthetic difference from the late aughts that they're starting to look funny?
I mean, that could possibly be it. It's also like back in the day, like the major thing around him was like, oh, it's just a postal service ripoff, Nobody fucking cares about the postal service anymore. I think that he has now outlived the thing that he originally was compared to, and therefore can be construed on his own merits as just this like ludicrously fluffy individual.
His singing voice is poison to my ears.
Well, I'm sure it's poison in many people's ears, but I'm glad that he's found a new life in the person of a rhyming meme, which is one of the better kinds of memes, I think.
Sorry, it's definitely one of our standbys.
Mm-hmm. This establishment is named after a pitch.
What?
Goop. Bitumen.
Oh.
It's a goop establishment.
What pitch?
PIT, like the kind of black gooey stuff, that kind of pitch.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like a tone.
Nah.
It's called dough.
Dough.
Ray.
Me.
Well, thank you for listening to
I choked on me. That's probably deeply significant Freudian styles.
Yeah. It's been a lackadaisical Trex, but I feel good about it. I'm glad to check in.
Yeah, we did some chatting. Did some other chatting. Perfectly reasonable.
Come on with this. It's doing the thing to me. Except my cables.
Except those.
They're right here. There's really no reason why they need to be in exactly the right spot.
Yeah.
Hey, you, drive that to just the right spot. Okay, fine, let's go all the way here. Let's back up Turn this way a little. Turn.
I intentionally wrote it out to be an illegible mess. I wonder if I can find that book on your bookshelf while you do this.
Yeah, if you can find it. Maybe we pause and after you find it, reread a bit.
Could be. See, this is the Pynchon Nietzsche Shakespeare Nabokov area that's not going to be in here. All right.
We found it.
We found it. Geryon was a monster. Everything about him was red. Put his snout out of the covers in the morning, it was red. How stiff the red landscape where the cattle scraped against their hopples in the red wind. Burrowed himself down in the red dawn jelly of Geryon's dream. Geryon's dream began red, then slipped out of the vat and ran up sail, broke silver, shot up through his roots like a pup. Secret pup. At the front end of another red day.
Secret pup.
Secret pup.
This is an epic poem. It's a
That's
narrative.
pretty good.
I couldn't follow it at the time. Or maybe I couldn't work up the interest. I found it a bit dry, if I recall.
I'm gonna give it my best shot.
Secret Pup has me enthralled. Can I have a look?
Yeah, sure.
I want to read another page. Let's see. Just a random thing. That's an Emily Dickinson quote, just smack in the middle of the book.
As we discussed, that is an epigram.
An entire Emily Dickinson poem is the epigram
Yeah.
that is the epigram. In fact, it's of the first chapter. Okay. Well, here's the first chapter, part of it. Geryon learned about justice from his brother quite early. They used to go to school together. Geryon's brother was bigger and older. He walked in front, sometimes broke into a run or dropped on one knee to pick up a stone. Stones make my brother happy, thought Geryon. And he studied stones as he trotted along behind. Oh, this is actually super good. You're like, I don't need to know what happens. That's just fun to read. But yeah, as far as I remember, it's the kind of story you often like. So, good luck with it.
I'm going to give it my best.
Next truck's a review of Autobiography. Probably not, but maybe.
Maybe, who knows? All right.
Goodbye.
Bye.